Hey everybody, it's Sean and Trey with Reactions to the Classics. Before we get started today, we just wanted to invite you to take a look at our Patreon page where we have all kinds of reward tiers, anywhere from reacting to an entire album to songs. Supporting us for as little as $1 a month. It really helps us out.
And you can also check out our Facebook and Discord groups down below. Got a great community of people who love music. And all that to say, y'all, let's get to today's video. What's happening, everybody? Trey here, joined again today by my dad, Sean. And today, reactions to the classics. We're going to be looking at Stage Fright from the band. This comes courtesy of our Patreon member, Jimmy. Jimmy, appreciate it, man.
Appreciate
we
it
did
always.
The self-titled record, The Band, last month. Enjoyed that. And this is their third record, the one right after that came out in 1970.
Yeah, August of 1970, Trey peaked at number 5 on the charts. Initially, critics were very mixed on this. Since then, they've kind of painted it in a better light. It's also engineered by an up-and-coming Todd Rundgren and produced by the group themselves for the first time. It's much more of a rock album than their previous efforts, but has a more downcast contemporary focus and less of the vocal harmony blend that had kind of been the centerpiece of their first two albums. The tradition of switching instruments continue, however, with each musician contributing parts on at least 2 different instruments.
Mentioning instruments, this thing is just chock full of pretty much any instrument you can think of. Of course, we have the drums, bass, guitar, but we also have the double bass, we have a saxophone, the auto harp, accordion, organ, clavinet. There's just pretty much anything you can think of on this record, and it makes for a lively, entertaining listen.
Yeah, I agree, and that kind of, I guess, is probably the allure of the band for a lot of our watchers out there. Robbie Robertson talked about this album years later and just said it was less fun, it's more difficult, probably because of a lot of drug experimentation, also because Todd Rundgren wasn't too much of a good time in the studio, which we've come across a few times with Todd. Also, they had wanted to record this as a live album at the Woodstock Playhouse of Woodstock, New York, where they live. But the town council eventually vetoed it, Trey, because we were just coming off of Woodstock the previous year, and they were afraid they were going to have all kinds of issues like they did there. So instead, they took the Woodstock Playhouse and set it up as a recording studio. And he said that was also difficult. And the other very strange thing on this album is the final mixing. So Todd Rundgren takes his part, and he goes and does a mix. But also Glenn Johns in the UK, he does a mix. And then they bring those back to the band, and maybe the band did their own mix as a third mix. Maybe they did, and there's all this folklore out there.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody really knows for sure what mixes ended up on the
final album. Yeah, no one has any idea. And we're going to lead off with Strawberry Wine, Trey. There's lots of instrumentation, as you mentioned a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, Hudson kills it on the accordion. I was impressed with him throughout the entire record.
Yeah, there's a few tracks where the accordion actually sounds quite good. This one I think is basically, I'll be interested what you think about on the lyrics. I think basically this guy chose the alcohol over the woman, and he doesn't really want to hear about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I got from it. He mentions that he kind of gave it all his money to get a good time from it, and he just loves his wine, man. Nothing can compare to that. Solid tone set for this record. It actually is one of my least favorites on the entire album.
It's one of mine as well.
It has a bit of like almost a country funk type of vibe.
That's a good way of
in there. But then we're going to move on to track 2, Sleeping.
Manuel's on lead vocals and piano. Uses a Waldstein signature, kind of like King Harvest. This song has no true chorus. Instead, the verses are sung softly and are given greater importance. Quite different instrumentally, much more stripped back than the first song.
I enjoyed the lyrics on this because it starts off noting that, oh, maybe they're going to rise as 2 lovers. As time goes on, this man starts looking out. He sees everybody searching for meaning, and existential themes kind of run throughout this record subtly, which I think is a nice kind of motif that goes throughout the record. It's a little bit more of a personal record than the band's self-titled album that we did. And then he notes that eventually there is no one around the house. So we're assuming that a breakup happens. So I enjoyed this one too, and he knows waking up at noon is waking up too soon. I can relate to that, man. And I thought Manuel's vocal was a killer on here.
I did too.
And then I guess we'll keep trucking to song number 3.
It's Time to Kill peaked at 77 in the US. Normal drummer Helm plays the rhythm guitar in the song while Manuel takes the drums. The instrumentation on this, Trey, is top notch. The guitar and the piano are fantastic.
That's exactly what I wrote down, that Robertson's lead guitar was killer,
Yeah,
and
man.
Hudson just keeps that energy up. It's a bit of an upbeat kind of folk rock type of number
Yeah.
here, just really detailing out the need to just slow down and enjoy the things in life. He's with his girl, and he notes in here, we're going to plant the seed, there ain't nothing we need, we found our own rainbow. Just enjoy the simple things in life. That's
Yeah, and that was 50 years ago. We could really take a lesson from that now because things are a whole lot more hectic just in our world as far as technology
Oh, yeah.
than it was in 1970. That's going to take us to just another whistle stop. I'm curious what you thought this was about. I think it's about, could possibly be about the afterlife. What do you think?
I'm in agreement with you. I think it really notes that the locomotive comes for us all,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, we're all going to die. I thought there were some clever lyrics in there noting that some people call you a crazy fool if you worry about, hey, what's going to happen when the locomotive comes for me? And there's a great couplet in here. People, people, where do you go before you believe in what you know? Another graceful vocal performance by Manuel here, and one of my favorites on this A-side.
Yeah, I agree, and that's going to take us to the closing track of the A-side, All the Glory.
Yeah, and this was probably the most stripped back tune on the entire record.
I agree.
It seems
way chilled, man.
Yeah, it seems like he's talking about like a daughter. He mentions that she's climbing up to like
That's what I took.
second story, and he wants like a star to shine on through to her and whatnot. This was actually, I think, my favorite tune on the A side.
It was mine as well.
Was it? Yeah.
Yes, it was.
It was just nice to hear a really heartfelt, sweet tune, man.
Yeah, quite the difference between the opening tune. We had so much going on instrumentally. Both are great musical styles, but yeah, I enjoyed hearing them this way. That's going to take us to side two. We start out with The Shape I'm In. This was written by Robertson, but he actually wrote it about Manuel, and Manuel sings it, so I just thought that was an interesting thing. I don't know if Manuel realized that at the time, but there's kind of a sense of dread throughout the song. The organ is really good. The drums are good. They are all in on instrumentation on this one, like they were on the opening track.
Absolutely. I think we had the clavinet in there as well to give it a little bit of a funkier type of vibe to it. And I think this hits the nail on the head for Every Man's Troubles. He talks about that he's kind of out there wandering. He has nowhere to go. He's having girl problems. He gets thrown in jail. There's some, again, the existential questions. He talks about meeting his maker. So I think all of that in there just hits that really personal, like, confusion that a lot of people go through at some point in their life. So a fantastic way to start this B-side out. And then we go to an interesting song called the W.S. Walcott Medicine Show. And this has a unique backstory to it.
And it's based on stories that Helm told Robertson about medicine shows he remembered from his youth in Arkansas. The name is based on one of those traveling shows, F.S. Walcott's original Rabbit's Foot Minstrels. The lyrics describe the colorful characters in the show. It's also been interpreted as an allegory on the music business. Hudson has received a lot of praise for his saxophone. It's an interesting song. It's like got a fun vibe to it.
Yeah, the lyrics are a bit more surreal and wacky than you're used to from the band here. And even amidst that, though, there is some nice thought-provoking lines talking about he'd rather die happy than not die at all. Are you going to go and heed the call? So I know for a lot of people this is one of their favorites. I thought it was honestly one of the weaker ones on the B-side, but I think that just shows how strong this B-side is.
Yeah, I think I liked it maybe a little more than you did on this B-side, but that's going to take us to the next track. Daniel and the Sacred Harp. Manuel sings the part of Daniel while Helm sings the narrator's part. It has an unusual structure, and the first lines appear to be a refrain, but these lines appear only at the beginning and at the very end of the song.
Yeah, and this hits really the age-old theme going all the way back to old Robert Johnson about selling your soul for an item, for musical ability, whatever the case may be. Mixes in some Christian lore as well. Essentially, he talks about this harp that is handed down from father to son, but Daniel isn't part of this line.
Yeah,
this
and Robertson actually plays the auto harp on this. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, now they kind of bring it all together, and so Seller goes away for many a years. Daniel saves up for some cash and then comes back. He's ready. He goes to buy it. And the seller has one more thing to ask, but we don't know what it is because Daniel just takes the harp and says, take whatever you need, like from my money and whatnot. Then Daniel's father tells him, man, looks like you sold yourself into sin for this. Daniel at the very end is playing, yet he doesn't have a shadow that he's casting. So this was my favorite story I've heard the band tell.
I agree 100%. Yeah, the lyricism on this is fantastic. Very interesting, as you talked about, just mixing all kinds of the Robert Johnson myth, as you said, with some Christian values and stories and kind of mixing those together. So a lot of people thought it was a little bit of a take on the band's experience in the music business, and by this time they're already becoming quite disillusioned by album number 3. That's going to take us to another very personal song that's directly based on the band's experience, and that's Stage Fright, the title track.
Yeah, and here it really is pretty self-explanatory.
It is.
I think this should be the theme song for high school speech students everywhere, because he notes just how even though he's scared to go up and play, he has to, because that's kind of his job. It is pretty autobiographical here, I think, for the band, noting how they have to just go on. Once one night is done, then that next night's coming up as well.
Exactly, you never get away from it.
That angst that builds up whenever you're going out and seeing all the rich and people looking at you and ready to see you perform.
Yeah, and I thought Danko plays a great fretless bass on this.
Yes.
And there was a lot of speculation back in the day. This was about Dylan. Obviously, Dylan and the band were very close, and the band was with him for a long time. You know, about him not wanting to come back and play after his sabbatical after the accident and everything else. But the band later debunked that myth and said, no, it's actually about
us. Yeah.
And we're going to end this with The Rumor, where we got Danko, Helm, and Manuel all sharing vocals on this. It's what it sounds like. It's about a rumor and the damage that it causes.
Yeah, there's an awesome line in here. Maybe it's a lie. Even if it's a sin, they'll repeat the rumor again. I thought that was interesting because gossiping is in itself a sin.
Exactly.
Yet they also might be talking about a rumor that is sinful in itself. So you kind of have a double meaning there, which I thought was great. And then the final lines, I think, sum up the theme of the record and the song itself well, saying, open up your arms and feel the good, it's a brand new day. So even through the midst of maybe your stage fright or your existential questions, or you're down on your luck, this or that, a brand new day is coming.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, the only thing I have to add, that vocal performance by the three of those guys merging in was really top.
Yeah, because we didn't, as you mentioned at the start, we didn't have as many harmonies on here, but when they came through, they stood out.
Of course, and that brings us to our favorite tracks. I have Stage Fright, Sleeping, and All Our Glory.
I have All Our Glory. I got Daniel and the Sacred Harp.
Yeah, I'd add that in there too.
I also like the Shape I'm In. So those would be mine, and that's going to take us to our overall score. What do you got?
Yeah, for me, Trey, I didn't quite like it as much as the self-titled that we reviewed previously. I think the band, with their unique instrumentation and just storytelling, I think there's someone that probably grows on you a little slower than some of the other stuff that we've heard. Still a good effort. For me, it's going to be a 7.0.
Yeah, for me, I actually like this quite a bit. I enjoyed it more than the self-titled, which I know is not a popular opinion amongst like critics and fans, but I just thought that it was, I mean, it was about 35 and a half minutes or so.
It's a great length.
I thought the instrumentation was just fantastic from start to finish. I enjoyed the lyrical content a little bit more than that second record, and it was just pretty succinct. Besides Strawberry Wine, I didn't really think there was too much filler on here at all. So I thought it was a great record. I'm going to be coming in pretty hot at an 8.5 on this.
Wow.
And
awesome.
So I dug this one. Thanks, Jimmy, for showing and suggesting this to us. Let us know your thoughts on Stage Fright in the comment section below. And Dad, as always, appreciate the research, man.
Enjoyed it.
And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that big thumbs up as well as that big red subscribe button, and you can check out our other reviews. And we upload every single day, man, so there's going to be something for everybody. But until next time, y'all, thank you so much for watching. Happy listening, and we will see ya.